city courthouse burned down.
Yeah.
Alright, so tell her the story from the beginning.
Okay. In the
Somebody-
beginning.
In the
Well,
beginning.
we got in the car, and we didn't have any gas, and we hadn't eaten. And Sarah didn't want to eat. Kelly was starved to death. She was getting sick.
They were supposed to eat before they picked me up.
Okay.
And we had
And
gas.
that's all I remember.
And we had gas. Elizabeth
You took
drove
a
us
nap.
there without a wrong turn. We got all the way to
Good thing it was a straight shot.
wherever the hell we
She
were
had a
going.
good co-pilot.
So you drove Elizabeth.
We went out Bryan Station Road.
No, Russell Cave.
Russell Cave. One of those old roads.
Sure, everything tastes so good, honey. Bless your heart.
Okay, so what did we do first? We got there. We stopped at the library just kind of by accident first, rather than finding the county
We
clerk.
were looking for a bathroom, and we thought the library would have a clean
We needed the
bathroom.
But
bathroom.
of course.
And of course, then we walk in and say what we're there for, and they're, we've got a good records room.
No bathroom.
Did you
They
all
have
know,
bathrooms.
did you all notice that that library was mostly for kids?
Yeah,
There's hardly anything
to
in
come
there
do their
other than
homework on the computer.
kid-
Yeah.
It was for kids that didn't have computers.
Probably. It was a nice library.
It was a very nice library.
Well, it's pretty new, isn't it?
I'd say less than 10 years old.
Yeah.
And some man had spent hours and hours and hours putting the genealogy records.
Well, anyway, we
together.
walked up the counter and this real nice lady came up. I can't remember her name.
She's got the
Real nice lady.
Mitchell.
And she said, "You've come to the right place." You know, well, she's running off to the bathroom. So the lady proceeds to tell me all the details while I'm there alone.
Yeah.
None of them. They're all in the bathroom.
Yeah.
And so she says, "Come over here."
I
And
was
they
still
have,
getting out of the car.
so they have a whole, I would say, a fifth of that library was that genealogy room.
Yeah.
About
Kentucky room, they called it.
Kentucky room. So we go over there, and she starts on the left side of the room. And she says, "Okay, this cabinet, this man, what was
Bill
his name?
Wheaton.
Bill Wheaton. Every folder, every family he has anything on, there's a folder, and anything he has, there's a copy in there. And here's the index book. So you could look in the index book under Moore or Bratton or whatever. We were looking for 3 names at the time:
White, Bratton, and more.
White, Bratton, and Moore. So we found
Linville,
one piece of
too.
paper.
Oh,
So
Linville.
show her that piece of paper. It was nothing.
what?
Show her that one piece of paper that was in that folder.
Oh,
It showed his
That was
wife and
Clarence.
kids.
That was,
Show her that
I
one.
think that was Clarence.
That was the first.
So that
thing
was
we
the
found.
first thing
Here's
we
your
found.
copy.
It wasn't
Here,
fine.
I'll show her. The first thing we found. Was
Here's
that?
her copy, Sonny.
Yeah, that thing is
It
Clarence.
said Clarence Moore, wife
That is
Maddie,
my copy.
White,
No, that's the one I brought with me.
and their
That is my
kids.
copy.
Who's Clarence?
Ginny's copy.
Clarence
right
and
there.
Maddie's.
Clarence and Maddie.
Had Elwood, Walter, Lester, or Lawton. And Martin.
Do you remember them?
No.
I don't either.
No.
Do you
I have a
remember
piece of
Clarence's
burnt
wife?
French toast. You want it?
Maddie, yeah,
Yeah.
I remember
I don't
Maddie.
remember her at all. I don't think I ever saw. I don't remember ever seeing her.
And she came to the house at one night, not one night, to the church when we lived there. I remember her coming there, but I remember going to see her several times, Sonny.
Well,
Thank you
I
very much.
went down to their farm many times, but I don't
Okay.
remember ever seeing her.
Yeah.
She was probably inside and I was outside.
Yeah,
Anybody else
but she was always cooking something.
That's probably why I don't
I remember she made a cake this high, had about 5 layers on it one time.
How you doing, Tilly?
We just happened to be
Wish I could've
there and
gone with
see
you all.
that.
I did too.
Yesterday. No, you don't have to say
Smokehouse
that, 'cause I
on the
did.
hill.
No, I knew you, I said
You
along
get
the
bacon
trip,
and ham.
Barry would love
I don't
Yeah,
it.
yeah,
remember
just
that.
meat.
We went through all
I
those.
remember that garden out
Oh,
in
yeah.
front,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
Daddy would get tomatoes out of that garden to bring home.
Why didn't you go with us?
I'm recording
But
this.
that's
doing
across the creek
something.
to get in the
I'm
house.
recording this. Sit down.
I don't hardly remember that.
Several
Sit down
times
and eat.
I remember Clarence got the sleigh and got the mule to come down there.
You're
The
kidding.
water was too high to drive through.
I don't remember
It's a
that.
real little creek,
Yeah,
but it's at least a mile from Sargestown to the
yeah.
house.
Oh, no.
But
Yeah, I
this,
had more fun riding on this sled.
I bet. I bet. Hey, this
But it also says
Browning. We don't know.
Yeah, but, Maddie could have been married before, and she
That's
she
what I was
was.
thinking.
I
Well,
know there was one
Right here.
son
You
who
wanna write that
lived with
down, Mom?
them that wasn't Clarence's son. It was Maddie's son.
Okay,
So Maddie was married before. We need to write that
this
down.
says previous marriages over here, but I don't know. I can't even read them. Party.
You could write.
Poppy, you need to write that
I
down.
don't-
Daddy was married before.
I can remember.
It also says something about his brothers over here, or somebody's
He's got
brothers.
the only pen.
Albert, Garnet, and Elza.
Daddy could have had some
Daddy who?
half brothers. I know he had that one half sister. Her name was Florida.
I didn't know that. I
We
remember
saw
talking
Florida
about
over there.
Florida.
Huh?
I remember him talking about
We
Florida.
saw the
but
name
Yeah,
Florida
they
over there
called her
several times.
I didn't know it.
Flo.
I didn't even realize
She
he had a
came
half
to
sister.
Daddy's funeral from Texas, I believe it
No, she
was.
won't
Sonny.
that.
She took all of those ribbons
What else do you
off of the flowers on Daddy's basket that they sent to the service. She took all those flowers home with her, and she made pillows cases out of them and sent them back to Mama.
Out of flowers?
No,
Out of
the ribbons that were on the
ribbons,
flowers.
The big ribbons, they're big wide ribbons. Yeah, yeah. She sent a bunch of them back. Yeah.
So after we found that piece of paper, then the next section was maps of cemeteries, was it? Maps that had
Cemetery
cemeteries,
book.
all the cemeteries in the county or surrounding counties. So then I think we skipped that for a while. Then the next section was computer,
Well, we got a copy of that map there.
and all we found on the computer was like where your birth certificate was in Frankfurt or something. It didn't really have anything.
Yeah.
So then the next section was microfiche of newspaper articles, and we didn't get to that.
But
The
we did
next
get a
section-
copy of one
One-
newspaper article.
It's in here.
Yeah.
And who was it about?
That's it.
But anyway, the next section was the census books, right? Am I telling it right? And so the
Close enough.
census books, I can't remember. I think I looked at the most recent first instead of the oldest first or whatever, because there was like 1890, 1900. There was not a
You had to go
19.
back from
19.
That's right. So we started at the most recent, and we
Bottom
found
paragraph.
William Moore, right?
father of
Uh,
Clarence and Cleveland.
And it has like head, and then it has wife if there's a wife, and then it has children.
Yes.
And so we got that, and then from that we had to start it at the oldest because it went down,
Is this the one you're talking about?
didn't it? No, we
Yeah,
couldn't
the
have.
bottom
You go
paragraph.
back in family
Yeah, but it didn't say who
because
his
you
parents
had to know
were.
who.
Number of
the only thing
schools
we
in
knew
the county
was
began
Cleveland
last
and
Monday.
Clarence.
Right, but how did we
With
connect
Professor
William to
George
Robert?
W. Jett Linville in charge
Because
of
you
Professor
go back
Howard.
10 years
Orman.
and you see.
But we didn't know the name
Professor
Robert. Is what I'm
Cleveland
saying.
Moore
How did we know?
is the instructor.
His children were Clarence
What
and
about that?
Cleveland.
The only reason we found that was because there's an index in
Yeah.
that book with every name that was in there.
Anyway,
This is just
we found it.
Any name that's
This is
listed in
just,
that book.
As was the
articles out of the newspaper. This is
How did we
besides
go
the
from
ad.
William
I
in
didn't know
the
they had
most
another
recent
newspaper
census
over
to
there.
find
No.
Robert?
Besides the Tribune
I don't think you
Democrat.
did. I think you started with Cleveland and Clarence.
No.
Was
But
the,
do you
because
remember
we went
when we would
back.
go over there?
Right, but they don't have father
the
and
next
mother is what
paper
I'm saying.
we
They only
would have
have
our
wife and
names in
children.
there, the
So how did we
Cleveland
know
Forward.
from the one where we found William?
Daughters, so-and-so, son, so-and-so had visited on Friday.
Come to
I guess the
town.
index
Big
told us
news.
William.
It was?
Yeah,
But we
the
didn't
index
know
in the
who
front.
William was.
Anyway, figuring out these
I
books
remember
was
him
hard.
talking about Ogden, don't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, uh-huh.
So
And Howard Orm.
Yeah.
Sonny.
Can't get a word in.
Yeah, they've all died,
Yeah.
yeah.
Is that good?
Uh-huh.
That's, I had it forever. I probably didn't need it the last time we made it.
Anyway, Jenny, so we found somehow in what was the most recent census one?
1820, I think, maybe 30.
1930. We found William. And it said wife was whoever.
Nancy was it?
Nancy.
Was I don't know if
Whatever.
Nancy was his or Robert's.
I think Nancy was Roberts. Anyway, we found
Who's what?
William Moore.
William Moore, but who's?
William
that
is
was
Clarence.
She
Daddy's
doesn't
daddy.
know who
Yes.
William is.
Oh,
That's
William.
Daddy's
That's how we
daddy.
found who his father was through the census records.
William. Okay.
So we found Cleveland Moore. at some point. And then you look in the index and then you can find the father. And the father was William. And the
Okay.
mother was, help me out you guys.
It's in there. That's why we made copies.
And the wife was,
White. Was it Nancy White?
We think
well, we can
Nancy,
see
but
that.
we're not sure.
Hold on.
I thought she ran away with Mr. White.
Cleveland Moore's wife was Elizabeth they had. So that was the
That's
Sarah
We
Elizabeth.
were looking for Sarah Elizabeth, but
Oh,
they had it
right.
as Elizabeth.
Okay.
And the daughter was Eunice
Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
and Cleveland.
At that
No.
point in time,
That wouldn't be right.
it was
What
somebody
it
else.
Son. That's what it says.
But that's not right, is it, Sonny?
It has Elizabeth, Eunice, and Cleveland. Y'all have gotten these out of order. Sorry. I've
I
got these out of order.
haven't looked through them.
These are not in the right order. Never mind.
That's
Start
why I
over.
said are the dates on top, because otherwise they'd get out of.
William Moore was the head of house, and then it has Nancy. These are all out of order.
They're probably opposite order if somebody ran them through a
Yeah.
copier.
No,
Nope. You copied them in
put them
order.
in order.
Well, they're not
I
now.
have not gone through the papers.
I did and put them in order after I made copies.
Well, I wonder how they got out.
I had
Probably just
no
sitting here
idea.
pulling out the piece of paper that
All
she
right, I
was
think
looking
I
for.
got it straight now. It's just backwards. In 1920 census, we've got Cleveland Moore, wife Elizabeth, daughter Eunice, Lenore, and Boyd.
B-O-Y-D.
Instead of Bryce.
Is that right?
Did anybody call him Boyd?
No.
2 years younger than Lenore. 2 years
Bryce,
and 2
right?
months.
Is Bryce.
Bryce, uh-huh.
So that's
I figured that somebody just put a B there and somebody thought they knew who it was and
No.
put Boyd or something. Just
All
a
right,
mistake.
that was the 1920.
The
20.
census takers probably just,
Put
Didn't
B,
care
and
back
didn't know how
then.
to spell it. Then in the 1910 records, we found William Moore was head of house. Nancy Moore was the mother. Cleveland Moore was the son. Your father was their son. So your father's
grandmother
parents
and
were William
grandfather-
and Nancy.
William and Nancy are your grandparents.
Yes, yes.
Did you know that?
Yes and no.
You know, I thought there was a Nancy in there somewhere because I thought, that's the reason Lenore named Nancy, after someone in the family. I
Yeah.
wasn't sure who it was. I don't know.
Then the next one is 1900.
Okay.
We're going back 10 years.
Yeah.
That one has got
Your father would have been 13.
Yeah.
in 1910. Yeah. Right.
Well, it was
He was born in
1886.
87.
86.
I thought it was 87.
We found
Was it
records-
Yeah,
85?
there was records. Some said
About-
86 and some said 87. They
Okay.
I
had
didn't
those wrong
see any
too.
86. I saw
not
it.
88, 87,
Oh,
and 88.
They
I
had
just knew it was 2
Clarence.
years.
They had Clarence and Daddy being born the same year, which was wrong.
Yeah. It's like somebody had written down the wrong.
So then in 1990, the head of house is Robert Moore.
Oh my.
Wife is Nancy.
So this goes back, William's
3
father.
generations. Yeah.
This
Robert
Daddy was
Moore,
13.
born
Oh,
August
okay.
1835, was 64 years old, had been married 44 years to Nancy. And the only...
No, he was 44 years old.
No, he was 44 years married. He was 64 years old in 1900.
Born in
what it
1935.
says.
He was born in 1935. His wife was Nancy. His son was William. His grandson was Cleveland C. and Clarence J.
Cleveland C, then. That's your dad's initial, right?
D.
His initials D.
I thought
Delano.
his father
And yes, I've been
Oh.
circumcised.
maybe did have a middle name.
Right,
C.
Did you hear that?
right.
look at me
Well,
like I've
You
got
said
five
your
kids.
father and you
You
pointed to
must
him,
have known
so I
about
was
the
confused.
I was
circumcised.
talking at
You're talking
him.
to him, but you're looking at me. I was confused.
Me too. I was like, why did she think he was Cleveland C?
So maybe your father did have a middle initial C, but
No,
it's
he
one of
always
those.
said he didn't.
It was one of those things where they scribbled beside it.
They wanted him to have
Of course, he
one.
may have just dropped it.
Yeah.
And Clarence. So
Possibility.
Cleveland and Clarence's parents were Nancy.
But you got Clarence J.
Right.
Yep.
And that's
Instead of
not
D.
right. So if Clarence's middle initial is wrong, so was my father's problem.
Probably.
So
Well,
I
maybe
still say he
that's not
didn't have a
them, maybe
middle
that's
name.
other people.
I doubt it with that.
Unless we find birth
Nancy.
records, that we're not gonna ever know if they had middle names.
Yeah, how would they both have been married to Nancy's?
That's what I was asking.
That's possible.
That's not unusual. Nancy was a
Did
common
y'all
name.
ever hear my story about when I was working at the drugstore? This little old lady, she's probably 4'6", real nice, came in there to rent a book or two every night. And she always talked for a few minutes. And
Rent a book at the drugstore?
Rent a book. We had probably 300 or 400 books.
Like we do movies now.
But anyway, she came in one night. She said, "You know, my first husband's name was John, and my second husband's name was also John, and my third husband's name was John. But my fourth husband, his name's Bill, but I call him John because he's deaf and can't hear me anyway." Now, that is a true story.
I wonder who she was.
She's a little old ugly woman. I thought, hell, she'd never been married. Maybe she was just talking. I don't know.
Sonny, I bet you have a million stories from that drugstore.
Oh, and they're all
How
listed
many
as
Marys or Elises did Uncle Bill go through? Was it just two? I thought it was three. There was Mary and Elise and a Mary Elise.
and they were all farmers. Where's she going?
Who knows?
They were all farmers. Okay.
And they were all farmers, by the way.
Okay.
All three generations.
So then we go back to 1880, and we find Robert F. Moore, same name,
Who's he?
farmer. He's
Our
William's father.
great grandfather. His wife Nancy, still that didn't change.
Still Nancy.
Sons William, that's right.
That's
But he
right.
also had lots more. He had William, Matilda J, Melinda E, Margaret E, Mary R E, Sarah K, Samuel K, and James L.
We also found somewhere else in another book that he had 9 kids.
9
And that is 9.
And then
Great
this,
grandfather.
Yeah.
what was this? The census?
Down at the bottom, it's got Daddy's name listed.
It's got-
It's hard to read. About 5 or 6 lines from the bottom.
Not your daddy, it's your great great grandfather, Robert.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Robert Moore,
Yeah.
farmer,
That's
Real
where it tells me
estate.
he had $1,800 in real estate.
and $330 in personal property.
Rich.
And
For that far back,
that was
that's a lot
rich.
of money.
That's a whole lot of
Or a
money.
lot of property.
I'm still eating till
what you need?
I wonder
I know.
where they came from, Sonny, the Moors, I wonder, you know.
Robertson County.
No.
I think that's it. Oh, then we went to eat in the middle of there.
At the gas station.
Oh, and you want to see the little lady? Then just tell her about the little lady we met.
You got it on your phone?
I do. So you have seen all the pictures I put online.
So,
I have last night after good,
so we gotta go back and look up birth records at the courthouse. Even though we know who they are now.
What's that? Oh, no, thank you.
Yeah, it'd be nice to have copies of those birth certificates.
You just set it like that, we can set it open in the refrigerator.
Well, you think they'd have a birth certificate of daddy?
Possibly.
Unless that was years that stuff got burned.
Yeah, the courthouse burned down sometime.
Yeah.
But they might have had stuff on microfilm.
By the way, that little church where we found Aunt Jessie's grave, by the way. Of course,
Yeah, I saw
we went to that
that.
funeral, yeah.
Yeah.
That church burned down in 2009,
Really?
according to that history,
Yeah.
and it's been rebuilt. I didn't realize that when we were there.
The lady-
It looked
lady at the
exactly
library
like the
told me.
same church that I went
She
to.
says,
at the
now when you
funeral.
get there, it'll look like a new church and you'll think you're in the wrong place. But it burned down and they had to rebuild it. So it's a new church and a really old
It looks
cemetery.
exactly like it did
Yeah,
They
when
rebuilt
we
it the
went to
same.
Jessie's funeral.
yeah, yeah.
They must have wanted to keep it just like it looked.
Uh-huh.
Evidently.
Had they expanded that
She's not gonna be able to hear that over there.
graveyard across the road, Sonny?
I didn't notice anything across the road, but there's somewhere it referred to the west end of the cemetery and the east end. And told us that Jesse was buried in the west end, but she's actually,
Right behind the church.
when you go straight in the drive,
Yeah.
she's right there on the road near the back of the cemetery.
Did you drive in? She's on the left.
I remembered that she was back in that area somewhere.
There's a lot of Brattons back in
Yeah,
there.
hundreds of them.
Okay.
5 or
But
6 headstones.
She's
of
got,
Britons.
she's got pictures of some of the tombstones. There was a man named, or a girl named Garnet in Jesse's thing, and her mother, I believe, was Alice, and the father was Benjamin Franklin.
Aunt Jesse's
Bratton.
mother and father. Okay. Okay.
By the way, that picture you gave me of Chester Reed's store,
Yeah.
that's not his
Is
store. That's a store in Pickway. Very similar.
Get in
But
there.
we stopped twice and
You are
compared the
kidding.
picture with the,
We showed it to
Yeah.
somebody that immediately knew. She
we
goes, that's
showed
in
it to two
Bigway.
people. She showed it to the
goodness.
librarian. They
Oh
both
my
said that's in Pickway. But it sure looks like it.
I remembered everything about it, that
this
door
lady-
on the right.
This lady we talked to that lives next door where Chester Reed's store was, she remembers him and Zelma.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Selma
We
was
kept
a-
thinking she said Thelma, but it was Zelma.
She didn't have
She
any
didn't have
teeth.
any teeth.
She was.
No teeth.
No teeth.
She's up here somewhere.
73 years old?
77, I thought she
77?
said.
73.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
so
knew
she was
she was
younger
younger
than
than
we
me.
are.
Well, she looked like she was 90.
Yeah. But she remembered them from the store next
So they
door.
always gave people stuff when they were sick.
Yeah, the kids were sick or anything,
They
they'd
gave
give
them a
them,
goodie bag.
which might be an orange and a soda pop, but nevertheless, they always
Gave sick children
took
something.
I don't know if I ever told you, but I ran into Chester Reed out of the Fayette Mall one time.
Yeah,
Shortly after that mall had opened, I'm saying, you know, within 2 or 3 years
yeah.
of when it opened. And I talked to him for a few minutes and I asked him if he was still working. He said, no, I'm retired. And I said, what are you doing now? He said, I'm trying to collect all the money that the people owe me from when I owned the store.
Oh,
And this lady said, yeah, he was really nice. She said, I bet he never did collect it all. I'm sure he didn't.
Yeah.
tried to live off that after he retired.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, Mama said that her father had a hard time collecting
Yeah.
from
Oh, yeah.
everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That was the thing to do back then, though.
yeah,
People didn't have money.
yeah.
I mean, you'd get paid for their tobacco crop once a year.
Mhm.
And when that money ran out,
That
wasn't
was
any
it.
money.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then those mayonnaise onion sandwiches look really good, don't they? Ew.
You have a picture of Mama's father, don't you, Sonny, sitting in that grocery store?
I don't know.
I don't think he does.
I
If we do, we don't know where it is.
don't recall.
Hey, I've got a picture. That Aunt Marie gave me one.
We got a picture of our grandmother with her big hat on.
I've got that in my
She's a-
purse. I
she's
brought
a-
that. I wanted to make sure you,
She was real tall, distinguished looking.
and I don't remember her. You know, I'd like to think
Oh, I
that
sure
I
do.
do, but
Oh, I
I
do.
don't.
I did.
I don't know when she died, Sonny. This picture. it
That's
has-
your trip.
Which one?
You get to take that trip.
My trip? What do you mean?
To research
We went to
Find
all of
her,
it.
find
You get to-
I don't think so.
Yeah, I've got that picture somewhere.
Yeah,
They
but
said-
I think I look like her from here on up, Sonny.
Oh, you're not near that good looking.
Yeah,
goodness.
that's the way it is.
Who's that?
Aunt Marie, Mama's sister. That was the youngest of the Voglers. Yeah,
They're all gone, man.
yeah.
Oh, wow.
That's my grandmother.
That
That's
picture was in 1940.
Look at that hat.
It's on the back of it.
That was taken at 125 Clay, I
Yes,
think.
yes, it
Yeah,
was.
Down in the
uh-huh.
front yard.
Yeah,
I remember being there.
You
yeah.
don't need those.
Oh, no, thank you. I appreciate it though.
Those
Well, I
dresses.
gotta tell my little story though. Because you all touched on it a minute ago when you were talking about somebody's being married 44 years, whatever. And I'm afraid if I don't say something, I'll forget. But when our band played at Dorsey and David's wedding reception, and the whole band was also in the wedding, so we all had on our matching tuxes. Dad had on the matching tux because he gave, the bride away. And as soon as that was finished, we started playing with the band and everything. And evidently we were really loud, but this woman comes in a bathrobe and a shower cap on, at this big wedding reception. And that was the first and only time, for some reason, my dad came up in front of the band and he was going to sing Summertime. You know what I mean? Totally. Where'd that come from? Anyway, so he was up there doing this, horrible. And this woman comes in with the shower cap on and the robe and everything, and she walks up to my dad and starts giving him hell because we were too loud. But there's my big dad standing kind of looking at this lady, and it's like, and she shoveled it out for him the whole time, and he just kind of went, oh, sorry, But I mean, it was, I would have
She
given
came
a
from
million.
some room in the hotel?
No, it was at the clubhouse. It was at a.
See
But I mean,
that
she
tree?
chewed his ass
See
out,
that
and
tree
and he
behind
was just
the
kind of like, it looked like he was in the band. He had on the
There's
matching
still
tux.
It had three of
But
them.
he
Still,
just, that
Oh,
had to
this
be
big
the
around,
highlight
doesn't
of his life.
looks like it's about 12 inches in diameter there.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it, Sonny? And they're huge now,
Oh,
aren't
they're
they?
at least 4 feet in diameter.
The trees.
Oh, yeah.
Uh-huh.
They're still there.
You can put the address
All
where
three
that
of them.
is.
Sarah, should I leave this thing out in case you fix Kagan a piece of French toast?
Yeah, I've got that picture. I don't have that one. I may have though.
And I'm thinking, Sonny, that this is something maybe Swinney had that I ended up with. I'm not real sure. Oh,
Grandma White's brother and sister. Sarah Lee Moore White. John W. Rayleigh White. Matilda Moore Wilson. Ain't Till.
Matilda Moore Wilson.
John Wilson, no kids. Lynn Moore Wheeler, Aunt Lynn, and Charlie Wheeler.
We saw Wheelers in that
They got
same
Harry,
cemetery.
A-R-I-E, Harry Moore. Claypool was her last name. Called her Aunt Harry. Mary Moore, C-O-L-E-M-E-R-E, Colemery. Aunt Mary. Married to Volley Colemery, whatever. Margaret Moore White. Aunt Marg. Married Grant White. William Moore, Bill. Cleve and Clarence's dad. That's what we checked that out. Samuel Moore, Sam, father of Clayton, John Lee, and Stanley. James Moore, Jim. Matilda Wilson, married John Wilson, no children. Grandma White,
What's wrong with these
Sarah.
people not having any children back then? Not everybody did.
Manny Francis. Children were Shirley and Clara.
Here we go, I got this lady.
Grandma and Grandpa White were first cousins.
oh,
That explains us. Here's this lady. She was a nice lady.
Did it stop again?
so this is who you all talked with yesterday?
Yeah.
Or, yeah.
Get to play.
She lived next door to Chester Reed store.
Okay. If you're facing that store, is it on the left where they used to
Something
live?
right, no, something right, there's a driveway between it.
Okay.
And by the way, that picture you gave me has a section of the store with a slanted roof towards that driveway, but there's not enough room for that section to have been there.
Look at that. Look at that.
And besides that, the picture has one door and it's a house and it has two doors or vice versa. And the windows are there. And also there's steps in front of it. Place, there weren't any steps back. The steps were at the ends of both ends of the porch.
I don't remember that.
Oh, I do,
sign.
because it was a real high concrete thing. I could barely jump up, climb up on it.
But it was right on the
It
road.
was right next to, there was just barely enough room to park a car there. And then,
Okay, so you're saying there were steps on either end of that?
yeah,
Remember that?
or at least the end where they lived, where the house was.
Okay.
And did you know that there was a hotel across the road from that
Oh,
store?
no.
Way
no.
back then. This lady said they had dances there and meals and all kinds of stuff. She said it was a real
What's that called right in there? You know,
kitten town.
Kenton Town, that's right. I thought there was a big barn right across from the
There
place.
still is a big barn, kinda, as you face the store, it would be kinda down to your right on the opposite side of the road. It's a big barn.
Yeah, yeah. And, cause it's
But
right on the road too,
Yeah,
wasn't it? Yeah.
but the hotel was right across from